Hotepu. This is Royal Majesty King Ra Sumbafekbeemi, the world's first openly African gay black king. And the function of a king is to feed and nourish his people. And today being November 17th, 2016, we are in what's called the sidereal or star cycle in our calendar of the god of war, named Mahus or Hirkohuti. So this is the season of the year where it's appropriate to discuss things of your inner warrior, of revolution, of freedom fighting, of liberation. And it was during this cycle that Trump became president. And he is a warrior for his people. He is a warrior for the white people. And it's clear that we have to start talking about what this may mean for people of color that he's president, and ways in which we can respond. And what I want to make clear is that culture is the cure. In other words, each generation of black people have had a task to do for their group. For many of us hearing this podcast who are black, our great-great-grandparents had to survive terrorism, being chased in woods of Alabama and Georgia, being hanged and lynched and beat and whipped and tortured and raped. They had to survive that. That was their onus, their challenge. And then things changed, and we come into a very big fast forward into the 1960s, etc., where the change became more standing up for your rights as a black person. And that was that generation's job. The question is, what is the job of the modern generation of black people? What's our job? What are we supposed to be doing for our group cause? We're not in physical slavery chains. We're able to move around more or less freely. What is the challenge of this generation? The challenge of this generation is to accept the true evolution, which is their African culture, when they're not forced to do so. We're not forced in America to follow anything African, anything traditional, yet it is what we must do. We have now, thanks to the blood, sweat, and tears of our great-great-grandparents and their sacrifice for us, we're able to choose to follow our ancestral ways or not. And there's a kind of danger in that kind of freedom where you're not forced to follow something or forced not to follow something. The true revolution, what many of our leaders did not get quite right, in terms of Marcus Garvey, in terms of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, many of them did a lot of great things, but they missed the most important one. The freedom movement, the liberation movement for black people, must be focused on the things stripped from us. So all you have to do is think of what was taken from black people, from the Africans when they came to this country in chains. Well, the culture was the first thing taken. You could not speak your language, so the language was taken from us. That's the first thing we should start reviving. Our music was taken from us, our drums, our traditional drumming. Therefore, that's the first thing to take back. Our sense of the divine, that was taken from us, our quote-unquote gods. Then those are the things we should take back immediately. So, by looking at what was taken from us, those should be the first things any revolutionary or any African freedom fighter should want to reclaim immediately. Because the question becomes, why were they taken from us? Why were these things stripped from us? Because they gave us too much power to not be docile, to not be enslaved. I didn't say that we must at this point take up arms. No. I didn't say we must at this point sit on some stoop or singing "We Shall Overcome." No. I'll repeat it because it's very important. What we have to do is make a list of the things deliberately stripped from us and focus on those things, because there's a reason why they were stripped from us, because they contain our power. And that's our culture. On the screen here you see what are called gods. But we never had gods in Egypt and Kemet. They never had gods and goddesses. That's a complete fallacy. And I will devote a lot of my life's work to removing that fallacy. These are not gods, they're sciences. This is Amun. He's the science of consciousness, unlimited. This is Tehuti. He's the science of being a mathematician. This is Osar. He's not a god. He's the science of DNA, good DNA. Here is Ast. She's not a goddess. Get that out of your head. She's the science of motherhood and of meditation. This is Heru, the science of self-mastery and self-control. Set, the science of bad DNA going through the generations. Nebuchadnezzar, the science of the powers of imagination. Sebek, the science of internal dialogue and logic. Almit, the science of breaking your conscience. So if Africans go back to the quote-unquote gods, which are really sciences, all the wisdom of Kemet is contained in its God sciences and its language. So if you want to help black gay youth not have low self-esteem, not become suicidal, not have self-loathing, then they should learn the sciences of consciousness, the sciences of psychology. This science here, Heru, is the science of self-mastery and self-confidence. So by teaching young black youth, gay youth, Heru, they will learn by default the science of self-esteem. Heru holds the solution. You see? If someone's depressed and moribund and down and out, they can go to the science of Nebuchadnezzar, the science of the power of creative visualization, how they can visualize the situation differently. There's a science to this. But this is our culture. And it's the science of, in this case, psychology, that could free us from a lot of problems. So I would love to see gay people like here in this scene being told by each other. He's telling in this storyline, in my imagination, he's telling in this storyline, dear brother, we must master the sciences to become great. And you see in the background pyramids built by science, temples built by science, etc. And the most important science, perhaps, is the language. That was taken from us. We could not speak in our native tongues. As in the movie Roots, he was told, your name is Toby, no longer Kunta Kinte. His name was taken from him, and thus his language. It was forbidden to speak your native tongues when you were under terrorist rule. So I'm going to give you a taste of what I mean by this in this, let's see, in this next image. Let's see if we can pull it up here. There we go. Okay. Enlightenment. What is enlightenment African style? Many know what enlightenment means in terms of Buddhism or Zen or in terms of Hinduism. But how do the Africans enlighten their people? Well, besides music and drumming and the arts, the language was a key component to their cosmology of enlightenment. I'm going to show you what I mean. This word here is Yaku. Yaku. Okay? And what the Kamau did was, in order to enlighten their citizens, their children, they encoded formulas, scientific formulas, in the language. So this language is unlike any other language on the planet. And basically the rule is this: words that sound alike give you clues to each other. Words that have similar symbols give you clues to each other's true meaning. And each letter is a word. So in this case, the word yaku has this first letter, A with a dot, then A again, then KH, which is one letter in Egyptian, and the letter U. So 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. Okay? And here it's written out in glyphs. I, A, K, U. Yaku. But each one of these letters is a word. So, without going into that detail in full depth, this flowering reed means that which is. Wherever you see that flowering reed, just say it means that which is. This vulture bird means to become. Wherever you see it, it means to become or to come to be. This circle with the lines in it means source or limit or pool. And then we have this glyph at the end called a determinative, which has no sound. It just simply is a symbol telling you we're talking about sunlight. It shows a sun disk with a dot and 3 beams. The word Yaku means, as you see here, light, splendor, radiance, etc. Blessings, benefits, excellence, virtues. So to the common person, this word Yaku means light or splendor or brilliance. But to the initiate, who knows the breakdown, it's a meditation of enlightenment about what light really is. This is the word for enlightenment, Yaku. But inside of this word are clues about light itself, the nature of light physically. So it says, that which comes to be the limit. Yaku, that which comes to be the limit, is what light is. Now, to understand what I just outlined, you have to understand Einstein physics. Light is the fastest thing known. Nothing goes faster than the speed of light. 186,000 miles per second. Now, this code tells the initiate, meditate upon what I'm telling you, he says. Light is, you start with the end of the word, light is, you do it at the beginning, that which comes to be the limit. Meaning the fastest thing. It's the limit of speed. The limit of speed. When a moving body in the universe accelerates and begins to approach the speed of light, it slows down. It will never reach the speed of light. It slows down. How? By acquiring mass. It becomes heavier. It becomes more dense. By becoming heavier, it slows down and therefore never reaches the limit speed of light. Therefore, light is that which comes to be the limit of all speed in the known universe. They encoded this speed of light dynamic in the word. Imagine if we had gay black children studying these words in depth, one by one. They will become enlightened. Then you have to study, well, why was a flowering reed used, and an eagle, and this sieve or this bound lake? you've got to now go into meditation as to why they chose these actual visual images for these sounds. You see? A flowering reed here implies time, because plants bloom according to time. So now we have speed and time. So an idea of time being brought into velocity, which is how fast something's moving in time, through time. So you see, by one word, there are two ways of becoming enlightened by Kemetic standards. One, you contemplate the letters. That's a contemplative exercise in logic and analysis and synthesis. Then you go into a meditational trance, like a reverie, on why these symbols were chosen with those letters. Okay? Why is the sun disk with a dot in there? Well, the circle with a dot, the dot represents the sun. The circle represents planets orbiting the sun. Or the dot could represent a black hole, and the circle around it could be the event horizon, or the gravitational pull. So we're seeing here something about gravity, suns, and light, and how gravity can bend light, how black holes can bend light. You see, it's a very profound teaching. So, we could pick any word in this dictionary and break it down. We have here the word akut. Yes? Which is spelled with this ibis bird, not like the reed and eagle, but a different glyph. Pronounced the same way. The ibis bird, then the glyph the glyph means limit. This letter T here, this little half hemisphere here, means mass or matter. And here we have a raised serpent on a bowl, which means master. This glyph Yaku, spelled this way, refers to the third eye. The third eye. This glyph means source or limit. This glyph means mass or matter. And this glyph means mastery of Kundalini, rising. So this is inner light as an enlightenment. That when you awaken the third eye's limits, the third eye's limits, or the third eye's source, seen through matter, during Kundalini mastery. In this case, light's being defined more in its physical terms. Here it's being defined more in its psychological terms, like the light within. Down here, it means the name of Sirius, Sophis. The star Sirius can enlighten you. We can go on and on and on with breaking down these words to become a genius. And by doing so, you free the African mind. I have taught classes like this to people. When they study these words, they become geniuses. They become very intelligent very quickly. I had one child at the time, 17 years old, and he learned these things. When he went to school, it was so easy. He went to college. He was shocked. He says, I know all these things in these classes about geography and geometry and mathematics and science and language because I studied the hieroglyphs. It gave him a kind of super learning advantage. So rather than wasting our time sitting in and we shall overcoming and picking up guns. Free the mind first. Go back to what was taken from us, the language, and study it. Let's do one more word. Here, let's take the word for existence. Here, unet, or unut. Here it is, unu. Okay, let's take this spelling of it. This is a rabbit with some waves and that T letter, which means mass or matter. And unut means things which exist, that which is. Okay? But this rabbit symbol represents vibration because rabbits twitch. Even if they're standing still, they kind of twitch, like they're vibrating. So vibrations of sound waves. These are sound waves here. Vibrating sound waves create mass, create matter. It's saying that matter is made of vibrating waves, vibrating strings, what they call string theory. So what exists is, all that you see that exists is nothing but vibrating strings, vibrating waves. This proves they understood the vibratory source of all reality, string theory. So if you are serious about the next black movement of freedom and liberation, you will realize that culture is the cure. Once we take back what was stolen from us, taken from us, our music, our drums, our language, our God, so to speak. Language being the most important one for the freedom of the African mind. I speak 7 languages, and I'm telling you, the Egyptian language is the most beautiful, profound, and enlightening language on the planet. Many people don't realize that unless you free the minds of black people, they're not going to unify any kind of true revolution or any movement of freedom. So if you're serious about freedom, which we must become now in these times, then go to your culture. I call all gay people to the Golden Beetle. It's our only gay-friendly African cultural expression. No other group, no other African or Afrocentric organization is open to us, to gay people in particular, being helped, being enlightened, being empowered. This is it. This is the only movement of its sort. And through a few semesters of gay people learning the language, I can get you straight A's in school, make you do better at your job, make you a more intelligent person, increase your genius level, your IQ will expand very quickly, and you'll come to love your ancestry. This is what we must do if we are serious about this month's God, or this month's science, I should say, the science of the inner warrior, of true freedom. It is the challenge of black gay people now, of all black people at this time, but for black gay people now, we've got to free our minds through our culture. So, I pray you enjoyed this, and that you review it, and that you become open to the revolution of our generation, of this age, the revolution of embracing the culture when we're not forced to do so. We don't have to. That's true love, when you accept someone because you don't have to, you simply choose to. Our challenge as black gay men, gay people, is to choose to love our language, choose to love our sciences and gods, choose to love our music and arts, not buying Western things and all these trappings of Western consumerism, but buying and wearing Kemetic things. This is the key. So, I pray you enjoyed this. Dwawend Hotapu.